You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
After years of success, Switzerland's luxury watch industry was hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent economic crunch. Many Swiss watchmakers faced an existential threat in 2020 during the violent economic cyclone of the pandemic, which crushed travel and luxury sales in most of the world. Stores stayed closed for months, and Chinese tourists no longer flocked to luxury shopping hubs like Paris. Figures from the Federation of the Swiss Watch Industry shows that Swiss watch exports for 2020 totaled just under 16.9 billion Swiss francs, a 21.8% drop from 2019. However, luxury watch sales are showing resilience even as the global coronavirus pandemic continues to rage. Whether new or used, demand for high-priced watches continue to at least keep pace, if not surpass expectations in some markets. Brands with a strong presence in mainland China have especially benefited from a sustained rebound in demand. My guest today on The Luxury Item is François-Xavier Hotier. He is president of Ulysse Nardin Americas. Ulysse Nardin is one of the most historic Swiss luxury watch companies. Founded in 1846, Ulysse Nardin became world-renowned for manufacturing some of the most superb marine chronometers in the industry, which have become collector's items around the world. FX joined Ulysse Nardin as President Americas in 2018. He spent the first 15 years of his career in Russia, successfully working in different industries including FMCG and luxury. For the past 10 years, he has worked for the LVMH Group, first as general manager for Tag Heuer Russia, where he transformed the once unknown brand into a market leader, a position it still holds today. He was then recruited by Parfums Christian Dior as general manager for Russia and relocated to Paris headquarters in 2015 as commercial director Europe. Welcome to the Luxury Item FX.
Hi, Scott. Thank you for inviting me to Luxury Item today.
Again, thank you for coming on. You've worked in several different industries. How did you develop your interest in fine watches?
Yes, I've been indeed working in different industries, and I came back to watches 3 years ago when Patrick Preowned, the CEO, and Kering invited me back to watches. It's, usually when you meet watch people, they will always tell you a personal story. When I was a kid, I saw nice people having a watch, just my family. I remember as a kid, this advertising with Tag Heuer and Steve McQueen, which I found just amazing. Yep. Gentleman driver. Also, when my dad came back from the first Gulf War, his officers offered him a Breitling. He was a pilot. So I've seen watches here and there, and someday Tag Heuer, in fact, gave me a phone call and proposed me to join. And I would say it's kind of, and I never thought about it before, and suddenly it was like, oh, this is so great. And I left a FMCG business to move into watches.
Did you find that transition easy going into it?
Yes and no. I mean, when you are in FMCG, usually you work with numbers. Your distribution is huge. It's all about scaling a product. When you are in watches, then your own opinion, your own emotions, your communication skills, or simply the relationship you build with your retailers and your partners and your customers, this is more important than just scaling a business. If I find it easy, I would say yes, because it's an industry driven by passion, like fashion, and yes, just like it was incredible. After I moved around in different jobs again, but I'm so happy to be back to the watch industry because you meet incredible people.
Ulysse Nardin has really a rich history that dates back to like the mid-1800s with its roots in the nautical world. Can you share with the listeners a little bit about the history of the brand?
Yes, it's indeed a beautiful story. It's an odyssey in a way. Mr. Ulysse Nardin, watchmaker, you are in 1846 in the mountains in Switzerland, and he created his own workshop. With his sons, they were obsessed by precision, reliability. And they were, in fact, doing some research and development, which is a very hype word, but I'm talking about the 19th century. This is how they entered into business of marine chronometers. We are in a time, late 19th century, when shipping and transportation and trade dominate the world. So they went into this industry, and in the beginning of the 20th century, Ulysse Nardin is supplying over 50 admiralties, plus merchant companies all over the world. For example, in 1905, Ulysse Nardin started to supply the US Navy with marine chronometers for submarines and torpedo boats. So you're right, Scott, there is this connection with the sea, with navigation. Of course, with the radar and technology and laser, after the Second World War, our marine chronometers were not in demand anymore by the navies. Then we moved into watches. We were already doing watches for engineers, for doctors, always kind of a B2B business. And in 1983, a businessman, Rolf Schneider, made the acquisition of Ulysse Nardin, invested a lot of money in the manufacture, in horology. You may have heard of our astronomical watches.
Of course.
The Freak, which is this
Yes.
iconic watch. And in 2014, Kering Group made the acquisition of Ulysse Nardin. It was kind of a secret well kept, if you want, and made the acquisition. And you had a few years ago a new team who entered at the helm of Ulysse Nardin, and now revamping the brand.
What did Kering Group see in the brand that was so unique that they saw that it fit into their portfolio?
I think that luxury groups wanted to have watch companies just because it's like jewelry. It's something incredible. It's all the passion, all the knowledge. So Kering Group probably, and I was not there at this time, they wanted to have this amazing brands, the manufacturers, the capacity to produce your own movement, which is very rare. People may not know that in our industry. So Ulysse Nardin was also the last brand, the last amazing horology brand kind of available. So Kering took over the company. And now really it's kind of a business case, if you want, of making a 175-year-old manufacturer being relevant for, of course, our loyal customers already, our club, but also new, younger generation. And this is what we are doing right now.
I think there are a bunch of celebrities that actually they brag about wearing Ulysse Nardin.
They do.
Will Smith, maybe? I think it was Will Smith.
The interesting thing is that usually people ask you, do you work with influencers to make your brand very big or to... In fact, we don't. The best influencer at UN is the customer. Customers bring customers. So yes, of course, we have some... I saw some pictures on Google with The Rock having a tourbillon, I think, of ours. We saw Stallone with a tourbillon. We saw Will Smith, Jeff Bezos as a dual time. We're doing events or with our partners or retailers, but they buy their own watches. We have nothing to do with that. And in fact, we are very proud of it. And then you have this new generation coming to Ulysse Nardin, not because they saw the watch on an influencer or a YouTuber, but simply because they are in the know. When you have like a few watches, when you understand watchmaking, at certain points, you enter into our club. This is the way it works.
Yeah. And you joined Ulysse Nardin as President of Americas in 2018. So what was your main focus, or what is your main focus when you joined the brand?
The main focus, Scott, is the sustainability of the brand and the desirability of the brand. So when I joined the company, as I said, it's a business case. It's okay. Ulysse Nardin is this 175-year-old company this year. What's next? So what we've been doing mostly was reorganizing the distribution, working on the supply, streamlining the collections, recreate scarcity in order to recreate traction on Ulysse Nardin. So, I'm not speaking right now about all the glamour of the boat shows and some luxury events we do for our club. I'm really talking now about reorganizing our business. So the last 3 years, that's what we've been doing, pretty much reorganizing our distribution and our communication in the United States in order to make sure that the brand will continue to grow in a sustainable way.
Yeah. And I remember you a couple of years ago, you're talking about the Freak Watch. I remember you had this amazing campaign that had these beautifully arresting images of a great white shark swimming through the streets of New York, and I think it was Shanghai too. What was the whole strategy behind that campaign?
So our CMO has designed this campaign because it means a lot, in fact. If you know watch people, they will tell you that Ulysse Nardin somehow is a freak in the industry. And we have the freak anyway. I would say the shark, the great white shark, is also a freak in a way.
Right.
And by freak, I mean this 19th century meaning of it. Kind of a monster that you can fear if you don't understand the shark. But when you understand the shark, you love the shark. It's a story of Dracula and Dr. Frankenstein creature. So I think Ulysse Nardin is this kind of the freak in the industry. We may not be so well known, but when you know Ulysse Nardin very well, then you join the club and you become our loyal club member. Also, there is this idea of two universes, nature and the city, basically where we live, the city, and where we are as humans, and also the fact that we are so connected to the sea that there is this connection between what should not be the shark in the city.
Yeah, it was a beautiful campaign. Like other companies, Kering-owned Swiss watch brands were impacted in a big way by the crisis. And in its recent Swiss watch industry 2020 study, Deloitte said, as the country's third largest exporter and a pillar of the Swiss economy, the Swiss watch industry will adapt and recover. Regardless of how the pandemic plays out, the watch industry will look back on the year 2020 as the year of accelerated transformation. How do you look back at last year for Ulysse Nardin and the industry?
Accelerated transformation is the word. This crisis is interesting, Scott. If you think about the COVID, when you get sick with it, if you have a weak point in your body, this is where you suffer the most. And I would say in our industry, it's the same. If the fundamentals are not strong in one company, this is when you suffer. So what I would say about Ulysse Nardin now that we are getting out of this COVID crisis and the shutdown is that our fundamentals are very strong. We have a manufacturer, we control the production of spare parts, research, innovation. We have a club of loyal customers and they are still there. And by the way, we are growing in sellout, which is interesting. We have a strong distribution with the best partners. So our fundamentals are very strong. Where we have been also accelerating last year, it's simply deciding that we can continue doing our business and speak to our customers with less distribution. We also must be better in omni-channel, so improve our digital experience or digital coverage. So we've been accelerating in digitalization, but as I said, we are pretty strong with the fundamentals. So we've been through this crisis. I think the company has been through different wars and world wars. The company has been through the 1929 crisis, has been through many other crises. Ulysse Nardin is still there. So we are very confident in the future.
Watches and Wonders in 2020 was canceled and pivoted to a digital showcase. How did that work out for the brand?
Yes, Ulysse Nardin is part of an ecosystem like some other brands. And this ecosystem has this yearly event when we gather our fans, we gather our partners, and we show novelties. It's like a fashion show. So we are part of it. This year it will be, you may know, a virtual show, which is at plus and minus because a watch, you want to see it. Your partners, you want to drink champagne with him or her. So we have this frustration of not going to Switzerland and not meeting physically with our friends. Having said that, the show going online allows a lot more people all over the globe, all the watch aficionados can participate to the show. And I think that's amazing. So we'll participate to the show, of course. But what I'm really looking forward to is to receiving these watches and the prototype in the USA in order to showcase them to our friends.
This past summer, you launched an e-commerce platform and started selling direct to consumers in the US and the UK. I'm assuming this was in the response to the lockdown, or was e-commerce already in the works?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. And in fact, it's our e-commerce was already at work. So I would say even been late probably compared to many other brands. So no, it's like kind of a coincidence. We would have launched this e-commerce anyway. And the e-commerce for us is a better way to service the customers, talking about omni-channel. And here again, to be able to be purchased like anywhere you are. So simply, it's like I think it's a must-have, in 2021 to have an e-commerce.
Right.
So there is no intention on our side to develop the e-commerce in a way that is taking business from our wholesale, because we strongly believe that the store, the flagship, is the location where you can try a watch, wear a watch, and discuss also with watch experts. It's just an additional service we provide.
And it's interesting, the auction houses also made innovative adjustments in the crisis, moving their watch auctions to online platforms. Sotheby's, Phillips, and Christie's all achieved great success with their virtual jewelry and watch auctions. High income earners who did not spend money on vacations were fueling demand in watches that cost thousands of dollars and sometimes six figures. Did Ulysse Nardin have any pieces make it into any of those auctions?
I'm pretty amazed, like you, with these auctions, the money, in fact, paid for some incredible watches. This is incredible. And I think Christie's, for example, did an amazing job in switching to virtual. And here again, like for Watch and Wonders, they managed to reach a lot more people and a new audience. Very interesting. To answer the question, we are not really in the business of auctions, meaning that I remember I was visiting Christie's in the Rockefeller Center 2 years ago, and I saw some freaks for Christie's auction. Of course, very proud because it's an amazing selection they have usually. But we are not too much into it. I will tell you that we do auctions in the USA, but it's more to give and not to take, if you want. We have auctions planned for non-profit and charities, especially the one we support. One for the US veterans, and one for marine biology and research. And we put some of our watches in auction, and we then give all the money to this non-profit on specific projects we are part of.
It's a very different approach that I've heard.
Totally. And I mean, we are, as I said, we are glad to see a UN at an auction at Christie's. Very happy about it. But we won't participate in a way that to try to get the value higher in order to create some hype. We prefer to put our efforts and our money for our club members, our collectors, and our nonprofits.
Like other crises that we've been through in the past, the pandemic has impacted attitudes and behaviors of luxury consumers. They become more thoughtful about their purchases, and they turn to brands that are established, have a strong heritage, comforting, everlasting. Do you see that with Ulysse Nardin positioned to speak to this particular consumer?
I think we do. You're right. Customers today are over-informed. But we are very well positioned for these customers. We have, as I said, 175 years of history, of heritage. We have a very loyal fan club. It's interesting to see that when we have a new watch coming, our collectors, our friends, or collectors, or customers are calling the stores to have it first. So there is a very loyal base behind Ulysse Nardin. So really, we are ready for all these customers. It's interesting to see that during the crisis, I mean, last year, the same for fashion, there is a concentration. The big names are kind of taking the biggest share of business. Some other brands, maybe less legitimate or newer with less heritage, are suffering right now. And I think that the success of UN the last months, the last year, is a proof that when you do a lot of research on what you want to buy, you find Ulysse Nardin. And we have, I think, again, the fundamentals to continue growing and continue recruiting customers. Now, for us, it's not only about the loyal customer at Ulysse Nardin. Now it's about being relevant for a customer who is 30-year-old entrepreneur, startupper, and this is where we have to do a bit more efforts, I would say.
The luxury watch market has been pretty resilient through all this at the end of the day. So how do you explain that resilience? Is it more about collector passion, or are there other factors that you would name?
Oh my God, Scott, it's a wide question. There are so many factors. I could go with a bullet point answer. One I truly believe in because I meet my customers. With my team, we have so many interactions with them. What I notice is that a Ulysse Nardin customer or customer for horology is not a faint-hearted person. He's sure of himself or herself. They know that they are successful. They know that they will be successful. So somehow, I see that this resilience as a result of people who are successful, self-confident. And then when you know that everything is fine for you or will be fine, yes, you go and buy a Freak or a Skeleton Tourbillon, Blast. You can spend the money because you know you will do good. So I think that this crisis and the resilience of the watch industry is a result of people being very self-confident in their future. It's a self-gratification. That's the way I see it. People win, people are successful, people are launching new ventures, people are confident in the future, then they can buy Ulysse Nardin. If you are in trouble, if you're not sure of yourself, you won't go to Ulysse Nardin and spend the money.
Just like the anchor logo, it just, the watch makes you feel anchored in the position you are.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yes, exactly. You feel straight. You have this weight. Yes, I know your metaphor is pretty good. I just didn't think about it, but I like it.
The average price of a Swiss watch has risen continuously in recent years, which impacts the average watch buyer and even the entry level market. The pandemic likely made the situation worse. Is the industry disconnecting completely from the entry level consumer now? How do you balance, value and fair price to lure some of these younger customers?
In the industry, you find mechanical watches below $100 and some others over $100,000. So you really, I think, have a choice. Also, the connected watches are taking a big chunk of the business below $1,500. And we are not there at all. It's not our business. So I don't think that the industry is connected. For sure, at Ulysse Nardin, I don't think we are. I think on the contrary, when we discuss pricing with our HQ, it's all about a fair price strategy and having the best value proposal in everything we do. And once again, when you are a customer for a Swiss mechanical manufactured watch, you know very well the industry. You know what you're buying, and you have the know-how, the heritage, the production in Switzerland. We offer 5-year warranty with each of our watches. So you really buy an incredible object. This has a price.
Are you finding interest in young customers for UN?
Yes, we do. In fact, I think the growth, the engine of our growth right now worldwide is a 25, 35-year-old customer. Going to Ulysse Nardin because, as you said, they are really looking for this brand's position with innovation, but also heritage. This younger customer has been purchasing already a few brands, a few watches, And when they want to go into the club of the true horological, high horology companies, they always meet with Ulysse Nardin at some point. So today, our customers, especially in the United States, especially for the skeleton eggs and the freak eggs, customers will be in their early 30s.
In that Deloitte watch report I was talking about earlier, it also concluded that the Swiss watch industry, quote unquote, missed the boat when it comes to smartwatches, and Apple sold more Apple watches than sold by all the Swiss watchmakers combined. Do you agree with that assessment by Deloitte?
Um, Scott, some brands, some Swiss brands are trying or joined the connected watch uh, scene, At least now we don't want. I think that I won't not say that this has not agree with the assessment, Scott. I think simply some brands like us, we are in a different boat. We have different intentions, different values and purposes. Um, it's more about the experience. So if we are not in this um, connected watch business, do we suffer? I don't think so. We are just different.
The pre-owned luxury watch marketplace is really hot right now. What do you attribute to that growth of pre-owned luxury watches? And do you think it's sustainable going forward?
Yes, I do. It is sustainable and it's pretty great for the industry. It also means that the watches are timeless. You don't want to watch, you don't want to consume a watch. You buy a watch and it can has another life. Um, I don't know how you purchase your cars. If you go to a car dealership, you will see that they have a huge CPO selection, and the CPO can allow you sometimes to collect cars. It can allow you to have a better car than the one you could buy new. And if you trust the dealership, you will trust also the warranty. You will trust the quality of your pre-owned car. I think for watches it is the same. Uh, I don't mind the CPO business, as we call it. I think the business should be better organized. The experience should be also improved. The trust between the seller and the customer could be a lot better. And that's all. And I think it's a great business. And the CPO, in fact, will support also the development of um, many watch companies whose job is to find this new patent, to develop a new design, to work in more innovation, to really continue to create differentiation, if you want, between what we are launching, the novelties, and what we've been doing before.
You were talking before that at the auctions that you usually give the proceeds to some causes and areas that you're involved with, and I think sustainability and environmental protection is important, especially when it comes to the oceans. That seems to be a major issue for Ulysse Nardin. Do certain projects kind of stand out to you?
We have many projects in the matter. I mean, you know that Kering is very innovative and leading in
Yeah, the
sustainability.
leader. Yeah.
Totally. And we at Ulysse Nardin, we also are very excited by all the possibilities offered by sustainability. For example, one of the projects we have in the company is what we call the circular economy, if you want. Um, for point of sales materials and gifts we have, everything comes from recycled. So we would buy recycled plastics, for example, collected from the sea or from fishing nets. They will be transformed into parts, or they will be transformed into objects like displays and objects for the stores. So we try to go further into circular economy, to reuse what we use, and to take raw materials from recycling. I think that's amazing. I think luxury industry again must lead a trend, and it's a very positive trend. On more American, just on the just for the Americas, it's also a matter of responsibility, if you want. We believe at Ulysse Nardin that the sea is our territory. This is coming from our past, of course, supplying navies with marine kilometers.
Mm-hmm.
And because of this connection with the sea, we want to do something good for it. Uh, you may have heard about O-Search. It's a major nonprofit. They are doing explorations. They work with fishermen and with scientists in order to study great white sharks with a very practical use for medical research, for science, and of course for protection of the ecosystem. And we are very engaged with them. We work together. We have a lot of projects coming with them. It's very exciting when you are working for Kering and Ulysse Nardin to wake up in the morning and you know that you have a call with a scientist who is right now in Nova Scotia doing some research on a great white shark. It makes your day. And I think that not only sustainability is something that we are responsible to do better as a company, it's also a great way to motivate ourselves to do the job we do, and also to engage our customers in the exploration, in the adventure.
So what can we expect for Ulysse Nardin in 2021?
You can expect a lot. We are celebrating our 175 years anniversary. It's interesting to see that the company never stopped operating, producing timepieces for almost 2 centuries. I'm pretty fascinated by how old we are, while when you look at our timepieces, the innovation, the research we put in them, sustainability projects, or advertising, as you mentioned with the shark, how everything is so disruptive. So I think it's pretty interesting to communicate this year on our heritage. At the same time, we continue being a disruptor in the industry. Of course, we will bring some new timepieces this year. I can't tell you much more about it, but with Watch and Wonders in April 2021, we'll reveal a few novelties, and I think that it will shake the market again.
Wow, that's really exciting. So my final question is the luxury item question, which I ask all my guests. If you were stranded on a deserted island and you could have only one luxury item with you, what would that luxury item be? It can't be any form of air transportation to get you off that deserted island or anything that requires mobile service. What would that one luxury item be?
It's a tough one. I'm inclined to say a bottle of whiskey, a Gibson guitar.
Nice.
But more seriously, I think you will say this guy is so biased. But I will probably choose a Ulysse Nardin watch, or even a pocket watch from the beginning of last century. Because if I'm on stranded on a deserted island, I may need some navigation if I want to get away. And the best thing you need is a navigation instrument. So I'll probably take a watch.
Yeah, and I think also with the pocket watch, you could have some reflective abilities to reflect off the sun, just in case a plane, or light a fire, or if a plane happens to be flying over, and if you want to stay, you'll stay. Otherwise, you could flash the plane flying over with the reflection.
My God, yes, good point. So much use. It's interesting because today people buy a watch. We said that it's gratification, it's a pleasure to collect, it's a beautiful object to show yourself your own confidence. But a watch used to be a tool, and I think it's cool to remember that mostly watches were used for calculating how much fuel you have left in your car, on your airplane. It was used for navigation. Lardin, we did a lot of watches for doctors, engineers, scientists, on top of course, the marine kilometers we've been doing. I love this idea of having a luxury good being a tool if I'm on an island.
That's a good answer. François-Xavier Hotier, President of Ulysse Nardin Americas, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was really informative, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you to the team at Luxury Item. It was a pleasure answering your questions, and I hope that I give a fresh insight on our beautiful industry and our beautiful manufacturer.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.